Saint-Nazaire almost certainly originated as an ancient roadside site, such as a cemetery, fanum, or even temple. By the 17th century, however, the picture would have been very different. A number of useful archive documents are available for this period, allowing historians to create a profile of the village, comparing it to other neighbouring settlements, which did not enjoy this favourable roadside position. The 1631 register lists 36 houses, but those which were not subject to tax, including the manor house and the prior's house, were omitted. There were thus around 40 houses, which corresponds to the number of houses situated within the fort in our early 19th century cadastral plan. From this perspective, the urban landscape appears to have remained stable throughout this period. Whilst some individuals lived on the small holdings outside the village, almost all of the population was housed within the ramparts during the first third of the 17th century. Only one farm, two other houses and the hostelry were located outside the village walls. As the village gates were closed at nightfall, the hostelry needed to be outside the walls in order to avoid enclosure. The economy of Saint-Nazaire was based on agriculture, but also on proximity to the road. The number of artisans operating in the village was higher than average. Saint-Nazaire is set on a slope, the Montée du Roc Brune, which was particularly treacherous in bad weather. The Director of Public Works for the Nîmes-Beaucaire area paid particular attention to the zone during the reconstruction of the road, demonstrating the importance of the issue. The few vehicles which attempted the ascent in poor weather had to be assisted by members of the local population. For a few liards or patas, a number of young and not so young men would help to extract coaches, which became stuck. The construction of the Great Road, wide and well paved after 1760, reduced the need for brute force. Horse-drawn vehicles were able to pass at speed, 10 kilometres an hour or even more, and no longer needed to stop at Saint-Nazaire. As at Zenas, where the inhabitants missed one of the daughters of Louis XV, the aristocratic celebrities of the time no longer stopped in Saint-Nazaire. The construction of leafy triumphal arches and roadside decorations to celebrate their passage may well have ceased at this point. Almost all activity relating to the road was recentered on the neighbouring towns of Bagnols or Saint-Esprit. Nonetheless, Saint-Nazaire continued to grow. The surface area of the village doubled and the number of houses almost tripled between 1631 and 1881. This expansion is most probably due to slow but steady economic growth, in spite of the various issues which emerged and disasters which occurred towards the end of the 17th century and around the beginning of the 18th century. This upward trend accelerated during the 19th century. The population multiplied and the means of subsistence increased in parallel. Thanks to the interlinked economic and demographic explosion at this time following the Revolution, France was able to rely on general mobilization and conscription to defend its dreams of republic against the combined forces of the European monarchies, determined to re-establish a member of the House of Bourbon on the throne. This new young population needed to live somewhere, and the village expanded beyond the walls of the fort. Surplus to requirements, in an agrarian economy more resistant to disease, the new generation provided Napoleon with forces to mobilize against enemies within the outsides of the empire, following the example seen in the revolutionary period. France's dominance extended across Europe, spreading Republican and Enlightenment ideas, but at the expense of hundreds of millions of lives. Today's younger generation, faced with similar issues, will hopefully find the means of showing the world what they are capable of via new technologies rather than through war and conquest.